All right. Here's 17 through 24. I've got the Patriots up next. Maybe Patriot fans aren't happy with this either. Another team, just vibes aren't great right now. But a little bit of Super Bowl hangover, a little bit of hitting above our weight with, the think about the quarterbacks in the AFC that they had to go through Josh Allen, but like no Mahomes, Jackson, Burrow. So, kind of I don't like doing the cupcake schedule thing, but just in terms of like thinking about, are they locked into being the best team in the AFC again? No. So I've got them here. In terms of their biggest needs, I've got big money free agents are Mike Onwenu, the guard, Hunter Henry, Kevin Byard, and Christian Ellis. Christian Gonzalez should get his contract extension at any point this summer, so we should be good there. But he is the headliner of the draft class players. Even without the Caleb Lomu pick, that's probably more about Morgan Moses. We've talked about Elijah Vera Tucker's injury, so you could look at guard between Onwenu being a free agent who's a little bit older, and is AVT going to be healthy long term? But linebacker and safety, I think, also makes some sense with those free agents I listed. So what did you do for New England here?
I was really tempted to do one thing. I went with something else. So you mentioned OG first, linebacker second, safety third. I went with safety here, basically based on the amount of talent sitting at those positions. I don't personally feel there's automatic first round pick at linebacker this year. There's one guy who may work himself into that. We'll see. I feel like there's probably several top 40, top 50 linebackers, not
Mm.
automatic first rounders for me. On the offensive guard, at the moment, this may change. I haven't done all my tape work on these guys for sure. I don't I don't have automatic first rounders on the offensive guard positions either this year, but again, give them a year and let me do my tape work and we'll say for sure. So I went safety KJ Bolden out of Georgia. Looks like a tremendous talent, gonna fit the Patriots really well.
Yeah.
It would be a great fit for them. So I check, check, check. Now, what I was tempted to do, and I have a good reason for not doing it, I was tempted to give them Caden Green out of Missouri, who
Yeah.
played offensive guard in 24, played tackle, I believe, last year. But the
Hmm.
Patriots are already moving too many people around anyway, or at least have the the temptation to need to move them around. So I didn't want to introduce another guy into that and make him go back and play guard when you know he's going to want to stick at tackle.
Hmm.
And I did not want to make somebody else move to guard so we could put this guy at tackle. I didn't do that, but I was tempted. So no, we went with KJ Bolden, safety out of Georgia.
Yeah, a Georgia safety for Vrabel and the Patriots, the way they play that defense makes a lot of sense. Caden Green, that's going to be an interesting eval over the course of the season. Um, it's always interesting when the guys, especially on the offensive line, end up going back, because usually when they go back, they just like completely fall out of like you don't even know where they went, right? Like they don't even end up drafted.
Yeah.
Like Ernest Green from Georgia, the Georgia tackle from
Hmm.
we previewed him before the 2025 draft, and he had to go back to school, and like I don't know, man. He might be a GA coach for them in a year or two at this point. Like I don't know. He just disappeared. I don't know where he went. Um, they're like created players in Madden where they're on the team for 5 years and then they just like leave the simulation after a while. When an offensive lineman has to go back. But you have your rare occurrences. Blake Miller was one, from Clemson. He could have come back. Gooseby seems like he's going to be another one. So we'll see what happens with Caden Green, who's was mocked in like on like, as like a day two pick going into last year, was made clear he wasn't coming out, and is now back into like being pushed in the first round of mocks. We'll see. We'll see if he comes back up. But that'll be an interesting one. All right. I somehow took that and talked more about the offensive lineman you didn't pick. But let's go to the Detroit Lions. And this could go a lot of ways. I think this was the team I gave you the most leeway on. So let me
Thank
let
you,
me
by the
walk you
way.
through it. You're welcome. Yeah, big money free agents here because all it is Larry Borom and Brock Wright. So it's your number two tight end and it's your swing tackle. 2023 class waiting on extensions are Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch. They already took care of Jack Campbell. I can be convinced of a lot of ways. Do things continue to go downhill in terms of the magic of Ben Johnson who's gone? Is it going to get even worse this year? Do they need to do a full reset at quarterback even? Um, do they have to are they able to pay all three of those extension candidates, or do they have to pick one between Laporta and Branch? Obviously, they're going to re-sign Gibbs. Does Derek Moore not move the needle at edge this year? Do they need to get back out and do edge rusher? Do they have to get way out in front of the 2028 8 free agents and look at corner between Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed, those decisions both coming up as our starting outside corners. So I gave you freeway to do whatever you want. QB, tight end, O line, edge, corner, safety. What do you want to do?
I appreciate the leeway. I went edge here, and I don't want to say I'm reaching because I'm not convinced I am, but I'm probably early, really early on this guy. There are people who like him, but it's kind of cautiously, I haven't done all my tape work and reached my full final
Yes.
judgments. But so far I like this guy. It's defensive end Kenyatta Jackson out of Ohio State. This guy right here, he's not super high up on mocks. He's in the mix for like, top 2 rounds kind of a thing, top 60, 75 guys. I mean, I like this guy. He's got the size, he's got the physicality. He holds up. I mean, he's good against the run, but he can get at the quarterback. He's got moves, and he's not your quick twitch guy, but he gets to the quarterback. And you can even watch the tape of him against Indiana last year with Carter Smith, who, by the way, is an offensive tackle that's getting a lot of consideration for this year's NFL draft. I like the way he operated against Carter Smith. It wasn't domination, but I liked the way he operated. You look at Kenyatta Jackson, that man was not like here. So I may be too high on him right now, and I may pull him on back to pick 40 by next spring. But at the moment, the Lions could sure use that. I'd love to line him on the opposite side from Aiden Hutchinson. Be a good pairing for me.
You're Detroit. Would you extend all those guys I was talking about? Would you extend Branch and
Not all of
Laporta
them.
and Gibbs?
No, I'd have to sort through it. Usually my mode of operation is, and again, I'm not a GM. I pretend to be one. I like to play one. But usually my preferred operation is to do what the Bills did 3 or 4 years ago. Grab one guy, just sign him immediately, like after 3 seasons, first
Hmm.
chance. Just knock him out, get him out of the way. Make the next guy kind of wait to when he was expecting it. Then
Hmm.
make another guy wait maybe a little bit longer than he wanted to the following season. But, he kind of sort of thinks it's coming and we're talking to him. And then you let the other people go, but hopefully you trade them before they just all walk. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my preferred when you have them all hitting at once like that.
Yeah, my NFC North written version of this for NFL mocks went up today, and where I ultimately settled, because who wants to read something where I said they could go in 6 directions? Where I ultimately went was I said between Brian Branch coming off the injury,
Yeah,
they paid Kirby Joseph, and he has his own injury concerns,
it does.
and you have the worries about forward thinking with Arnold and Reed at corner for the following year. I ended up saying defensive back. Like, do you find a safety nickel hybrid? Is there one of those that pops up over the course of the year? Do you get a pure
Yeah.
safety? Because then you're like, if corner has to take a step back, let's have Joseph with a young safety. I ended up leaning that way specifically, but for you, yeah, I wanted to leave it open ended because there's a world where they want to pay all those guys and they do, and then they're just like, what's left? So that makes sense. All right. New Orleans, 2026, 2027 NFC South champion, New Orleans Saints. I'm tracking the um, uphill trajectory of this team. How did you feel about me making them the NFC South winner? And then I'll get into the needs after that. Just a quick hit. When you saw I had the Saints winning the NFC South, what did you think?
No, I loved it because I wasn't high on Tyler Shuck, and yet what I saw last year, I'm like, man, there's something there. How high can it get? Well, we'll find out, but there's something there. And then, you know, I'm liking the Saints general manager more and more, even though I still don't really love the way the operation works. I like him. And then, Kellen Moore. We know Kellen Moore's a sharp football mind. We just don't yet know how high can he go.
Hmm.
So it's the South, man. The bar is not very high here.
Right. Like this is me giving them 10 wins and the Panthers like 8 and then the Bucks 9 and the Falcons
Right.
6, right? Like this isn't a huge discrepancy between any of these teams I'm
And I'd
creating here
love
in
to
my
see it.
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought, tra upward trajectory, they had a good offseason. I totally buy into the plan of insulating the
Yeah.
offense around Chuck and what he did. Um, Running back, guard, first round wide receiver. Um, Kept
Yes.
Chase Young. Like I get I just get everything they put together. Young defensive backs. They let the Alontae Taylor walk in free agency. Demario Davis got a contract. They said we're not going to overpay for the defense. We're going to build out this offense, see what happens. Um, So just wanted to reward them for the trajectory a little bit. So anyways, their big money free agents are Alvin Kamara, Tyree Wilson, Devon Godshaw, and Nathan Shepard. Not, you got defensive tackles, you got a swing, a wild card edge rusher you traded late pick for, and then Kamara, who you effectively have already replaced in Travis Etienne. Chris Olave on his fifth year option in 2026. Brian Brzee is up for an extension already. Um, they also, I mentioned Etienne running back. They drafted Kristen Miller, drafted Jordan Tyson. So some sort of defensive end or edge rusher is what I call the biggest need. So who's that like not a true defensive tackle, but just outside of that to edge rusher, whether you want it to be like a stand-up outside linebacker, hand in the dirt, 4-eye, 5 tech type of player. Who's that defensive end slash edge rusher that you would maybe want for New Orleans, or did you go a different direction?
No, I stuck with what you said here. This is really a true defensive end. He really will not move inside hardly at all. But I went with Mateo Uiagalelei out of Oregon. Now, the strength is there and the potential is there. I mean, it is all there. You and I looked at last year's tape and we weren't thrilled, man. There was a lot of tape, especially on my side of things. There was a lot of
Hmm.
tape where it was like I didn't see him do a lot for the whole
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
But the potential is there and the strength is there. So if he were to burst this year, this is a perfect spot for him. I'm still not this high on him personally, but a lot of people are, man. The mocks are just all over him.
Hmm. Yeah,
A
they
lot
are.
of people love this guy. And I know it's inside of him. I just haven't seen it consistently come out in bursts the way I've seen some of these other guys come out. So I don't personally yet have him this high, but it fit the need here. We needed an edger out of this group. So I do like this the size and the strength. At least you're
Hmm.
getting that, even if
Hmm.
you don't get that, oh my gosh, quarterback stress here. So stay
Yep.
tuned. This is a guy here, if he were to burst, could even go a little bit higher, but there's a chance you could see a vanilla year out of him and him just drop down to pick 50 or 60. So stay tuned on
Yep.
that part of it.
Yeah. 100% agree with that assessment, but I think that's the right move for New Orleans here at this point with what we're doing. All right, New York Jets. This is the pick they are getting from the Dallas Cowboys via the Quinnen Williams trade, via the Micah Parsons trade. Um, because Dallas, we'll get to it, has to send the better of the Green Bay or Dallas pick to New York for Quinn Williams. With the Jets, we did quarterback earlier, then we went defensive tackle, and then their third need that I mentioned was a linebacker or a defensive back. With some of those other free agents that they have. But I also mentioned like Joe Tippmann is extension eligible, so I don't know. Maybe you're thinking they don't re-sign him, they need a guard here. What did you do for the Jets with their third pick of this first round?
I did something here that really they probably should not do, but I wanted to talk about this guy just briefly, so I went ahead and did it here. I went ahead and went with a linebacker. At the moment, the only linebacker that I really have first round considerations for. Everybody else who I do like, I've got them way farther back as far as linebackers go. This is Kingston Viliamu Asa out of Notre Dame, and he's a heck of a linebacker. Not the hugest guy though. He's on that threshold that you and I have talked about of linebackers. Smart as all get out. Really good tackler. Solid athleticism. Not an elite athlete in terms of flying everywhere and shutting everything down, but a really intelligent guy. Good tackler, makes the plays. This would be a guy that would be a great fit for the Jets defense. All right. So if they've got all their talent issues sorted out everywhere else,
Hmm.
kind of a luxury pick. Really honest and truly here, they probably should go with a cornerback. I think there's going to be guys that probably will slide up into that role. But for tonight, I did want to mention this guy out of Notre Dame. He's worth the time to everybody at least just go look at his highlights at Notre Dame. Tremendous player. Maybe shouldn't be this high. Maybe the Jets shouldn't take him, but I did want to talk about him. This is where he fit.
Yeah, and for a team that went out and gave Demario Davis some money, if they want to kind of insulate that and have a succession plan, I think that makes sense. All right, San Francisco at 21. Not a lot happening for San Francisco, so you have some openings, even though I had some kind of clear directions I could go here. Nate Hobbs and Dre Greenlaw are the big money free agents, both guys just coming in this year on effectively 1 year deals. Starting center, Jake Brendel doesn't meet that $5 million threshold that I was talking about, but he's 35. He's been their starting center for a while. Can't imagine he's going to be there much longer. Um, So you could go with an interior offensive lineman or a center specific. Jair Brown, the safety, is extension eligible. He's really the only rookie contract guy worth noting. So some sort of defensive back makes the most sense. Um, this also could have been a linebacker spot, but you mentioned, the one really that you saw in the first round just went. So did you go DB or did you go elsewhere for San Francisco?
I went defensive back, and specifically I went cornerback. You could make an argument right now between two or three different guys. I had to pick one, and I did. I'll give it in a second. To me, the safety group isn't at the moment. This year's safety group at the top end, the top one or two
Hmm.
guys, isn't as stout as the past two seasons where I've had two or three, one or two guys I was just absolutely in love with. I'm not quite there on this year's group, but we'll see. But I went over to cornerback and I picked up, give me what's that, Kelly Jones, corner out of Mississippi State. Got the size, got the physicality, got solid speed. I think he would be a very good addition to this 49ers defense. I know people that like Xavier Brown, and that's totally fine. I might change my mind on that. I know people that like OJ Frederick out of Miami, and that would be fine. But I felt like at the moment, Kelly Jones was my favorite fit here, and maybe even my favorite guy out of these three defensive backs. Ashton Hampton getting a little bit of run too out of Clemson. I just don't have him up this high. But Kelly Jones out of Mississippi State.
All right. I like it. Let's go to Baltimore here. Marlon Humphrey is their one big money free agent. And I'm assuming they're going to re-sign Zay Flowers coming off of, his rookie deal. I could see anywhere on the defense really being the pick. I could see an outside corner. I could see a linebacker. I could see a defensive tackle, being an early pick here. But if we're just going off of free agency, like it's really only Marlon Humphrey you have to consider. So what do you want to do here for Baltimore?
To me, this is my favorite or easiest player team match. I went with defensive tackle, which I think is your second need
Hmm.
listed
Hmm.
here. I went with Amari Washington out of Oregon. I felt like this was a great pick for the Ravens. Now, again, it's not unusual to say this for Oregon players. Amari Washington to me looks like a guy that needs to step it up, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I Man, I love this guy. The ability is there, and he could be a monster, but the monster doesn't come out often enough. All right. Monster stays in the closet a good bit. He's stout as all get out. There are times where it looks like he should be two gapping and he's just hopping on
Mm.
one gap, and that's not going to work at the NFL level. It doesn't work too well at some of these college games either, the competition they're playing. There's a monster in there waiting to come out. It just doesn't come out very often. So, if he has a huge season, he could be a top 10 or 12 pick. But at the moment, I've got him, first round consideration. He's one of the guys that gets the consideration. And I do like the fit here, at least with the Baltimore Ravens.
See, and this is interesting fortune telling, Ben, because I was not a big fan of Washington when I watched. I mean, I remember sending you a clip of one fun play,
Yes.
that I liked from him. I forget who he was going after. Might have
Yep.
been Mendoza, actually. Might have been the Indiana game. But after that, I was just like, okay, he's just kind of out there. It's fine. Um,
Hmm.
but if you've got him mocked to Baltimore, then that either means I'm going to end up really loving him, or I'm actually going to be happy on draft night when they take a guy I don't like that much. So, we will see on that. But yeah, I think defensive tackle makes sense for them. Namdi Madubuike, he's hoping to get back, and we obviously hope he is going to have a healthy career and healthy life, with the neck injury. But questions on the defensive front for sure for Baltimore. All right, Denver is up next here at 23. Big money free agents are guard Ben Powers and tight end Evan Ingram. No big free agents from the 2023 class. They re-signed two linebackers as free agency, drafted a player there last year. This year they took an offensive lineman and a tight end to potentially play for Ingram and Powers, but um, they're covered at those positions by name, but not necessarily in practice, you would say. We don't know yet for sure if those guys are going to be able to take those spots. So I'd lean offensive line to keep the youth coming in for that unit, which is kind of their strength right now. But what did you do for Denver?
I picked a guy who's a bit of a projection right now, not a project, a projection. So I'm projecting that he's going to have a good year and that he'll be up here in this stratosphere as far as the tackles go. But I did stick offensive line. It's offensive tackle. I want to get the name right here because I don't have it mastered yet. Austin Siereveld from
Mm.
Ohio State. It felt like a great fit. I'm not even sure he's my next best offensive lineman at the moment, but the fit for Denver seems like it really just seems to match up again. So I think they'd be very happy if he has a good year. We'll see with Ohio State. Certainly he's going to have a good year. Will it look good enough to be taken by teams in the first round? I've got the feeling it will. I liked the tape that I saw. It's not that it's so much explosive or dominant, but I just liked the tape that I saw. So I've got a good feeling about him. But again, stay tuned. Let's see what he does this year.
This would be in the pick in the draft that like people would just have no feelings on, like a little bit of Blake Miller, right? Just like they need an offensive lineman, just stick one in there. It's just gonna gonna be a guard for Sean Payton, whatever. It's fine, and everyone will just kind of move on. So I like that. I think that makes sense. All right, I ragged on him earlier. The Kansas
Yep.
City Chiefs are back, but I've got them down here picking at 24. So obviously something went right, at least in the headcanon I've created for myself in this exercise. But big money free agents are Justin Fields, Jalen Moore, and Christian Fulton. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice long term from the 2023 class. Obviously, not looking good there. After the defense heavy approach in 2026, it's got to be offense in 27, wide receiver or offensive tackle. What are you thinking here for Kansas City?
I'm thinking we're going to right a wrong that they totally should have fixed in the draft that we just had a few weeks ago. What in the world are they thinking not going offense like you and I both told them to do all freaking spring, right? And
Hmm.
late winter. Goodness gracious. They don't know what they're doing. All right. Yeah, we're going to go offense. Anyway, I went,
Multi-time Super
listen,
Bowl winning champion, Kansas City Chiefs.
yeah, these guys suck, man. They
But,
don't know
but
what they're
whatever.
doing. All right. So, Kansas Cityers, if you're listening, you got some great picks here because to me, I want tackle or wide receiver. I've still got Caden Green sitting here from Missouri that I would be willing to snatch up, but that's not where I'm going. I went wide receiver. You come to wide receiver at the moment, man, there's like 8 different guys that
Hmm.
might vault themselves up into this spot, and I like them. I like them all. But the one I went with was Ryan Williams out
Yeah.
of Alabama. Just an absolute speed demon and a body control demon. Goodness gracious. Now, I forget how many games it's been since he actually passed what, 100 yards receiving. It's kind
Right.
of a long, long deal. And there's issues with drops, man. He's got at least one wide open touchdown that he just flat out freaking dropped. And you're like, Dad gummit. But man, the potential is there. You would think if he could unlock it again, he's got to show it. If he shows it this year at Alabama, then it's no problem. But if he shows it, Patrick Mahomes is the guy with the big arm that could totally unlock that downfield demon and
Yeah.
just, rip people to shreds,
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to replace Tyreek Hill, but here's a guy who can go launch deep and the body control is there. So if he shows that the hands and the focus have gotten back dialed in, then listen, the drops aside and maybe the focus aside, when you're looking at Ryan Williams, and what is it, Ryan Williams Carter now? Ryan
Ryan
Williams,
Coleman Williams. Ryan Coleman.
Ryan
I just
Coleman
double checked.
Williams. Yes,
Yep.
thank
Not
you.
every mock has it updated.
No, and I'll be all year trying to remember that. Ryan Coleman Williams. That all aside, defenses just are scared to death of this guy. They're not going to let him win deep at the college level. You can just see them. They did the same thing to Clemson last year. You can just see them dropping back and be like, "You're not going to do that to us." So now he's got to rework his game. That didn't happen as successfully, and Alabama's offense just wasn't quite as on track as it might have
Hmm.
been, unfortunately, due to several different things. So, can he get that unlocked? But if he does, then Kansas City would be glad to have him.
Yeah, with Ryan Coleman Williams, certainly the big drop in 2025, but no one's willing to give up on him because every mock that I've looked at so far has a different wide receiver three or wide receiver four,
Yeah.
but none of them kept Ryan Coleman Williams out of their first round. They all are squeezing him in here in this 23 to 32 range because they're like, I'm not going to be the dope that doesn't have him when he has an awesome year. Because listen, for the positive things we did say about Ty Simpson in the process, the deep ball was not one of them. So
Right.
it's a non-zero chance that the deep ball drops that Ryan Coleman Williams had is actually a product of Ty Simpson. Now listen, there are
Oh,
clear concentration drops. I'm not saying every single one of them. Someone can go on YouTube and just find a clip and make me look like an idiot, sure. But I don't know. I saw consistently Ty Simpson's deep ball just wasn't great. So is there something there to why all of a
yeah.
sudden Ryan Coleman Williams couldn't catch a deep ball? Maybe. We'll see what it looks like this year. Kansas City, this would be a ton of fun. Definitely a way to right or wrong. I really like that. So there's the 17 to 24. You got the safety to New England, Kenyatta Jackson, edge to Detroit, Mateo Uiagalelei to New Orleans. Kingston Viliamu to the Jets. Kelly Jones, Amari Washington, Austin Saraveld, Ryan Coleman Williams going there to the Niners, Ravens, Broncos, Chiefs.